Meth is our nation's pandemic. Its effects are sweeping our country. We are not immune here in Idaho, nor the Treasure Valley. Methamphetamine, also referred to as speed, crank, crystal, or ice, is our enemy. The effects of this powerful drug is in our valley, our community, our businesses, neighborhoods, families, our kids. We can see the effects in the numbers of property crimes, vandalism, domestic violence. How do we stop the use of this addictive drug from spreading? We must send a strong message that this and other illegal drugs are not welcome in the valley.
Meth use is at an all-time high. Over 1.4 million Americans have tried meth this year. It is the drug of choice in our community, which can no longer be ignored. The evening news is often bombarded with drug busts and meth-related crimes. County jails are exceeding maximum capacity due to meth-related convictions. Felony charges including burglary, robbery, assault, possession, and even murder are associated with meth.
Residents in a North End neighborhood are shocked to find out that a house on their block is part of a meth lab investigation.
A 4-month-long investigation culminated in early morning raids at several Treasure Valley homes. Narcotics officers arrested 10 suspected drug dealers. According to the Department of Correction, 85% of offenders in prison have a documented substance abuse problem. 52% of Idaho inmates say methamphetamine use is the primary reason they're behind bars.
The carnage is so severe that for the first time in Idaho history, a drug czar has been appointed, whose efforts mainly focus on combating the methamphetamine epidemic. Governor Risch appointed Boise City Councilman Jim Tibbs as the new Idaho State drug czar.
Right out of the gate, Tibbs plans to take inventory of resources among various state agencies involved in treating and fighting substance abuse, specifically methamphetamine.
It is going to take everybody pulling together. This isn't just a state issue, this is a community issue. And we're not going to solve the meth problem individually and just with separate state departments. This is going to be a community effort.
Efforts have been made in making it more difficult to purchase ingredients used to make the drug, and clandestine lab busts in the Treasure Valley have decreased over the past several months. However, it is the mass quantities both manufactured and transported from Mexico and stored in our rural Idaho communities that make it easy to obtain. In fact, it is often easier for teens to buy meth than it is to buy a six-pack of beer. You might never suspect a member of an all-American family like the Poes having a drug problem. Greg Poe, a renowned military pilot and showman, and his family were devastated to discover their son Ryan was using drugs. At 17 years old, Ryan came to his parents desperate for help. Introduced to drugs at the tender age of 12, Ryan knew he was in trouble. Despite all of the love and support his parents could possibly give their only son, Ryan's destiny was fated.
Ryan started getting involved with drugs in junior high school, and that was a time of a big change for him, really. And I think it's kind of a classic story in a lot of ways, in that we know that it started off with marijuana use and then kind of escalated from there. So it was around that time that we saw changes in attitude, clothing, what his interests were, who he spent time with, who he ran around with, and that started to change pretty quickly. They become more distant, less willing to engage and be involved in the family is common. Those simple things, going to family picnics, going on family drives, those kinds of things, and all of a sudden they don't want to go. They're not interested. And when they do, it's kind of begrudgingly that they go along, to appease you maybe. And the problem you have is that I think that everyone knows that that's not unusual for teenagers to some degree. So how do you figure out what's too far? When is it healthy and when is it not healthy? And that's a really tough thing. But it was after a while that he finally came to terms with the fact that he was in way over his head. And he knew clearly what he had done. Actually hated what he'd become. Was very, very frustrated with himself, and because he had a lot of dreams. He was going to fly airplanes, and he was going to make something of his life. And he was a talented kid. Well, he had a lot going for him. He took his own life. He realized he couldn't get out of it. It's that, and that's not that unusual. what you'll find at that level is that frequently addicts will either overdose or just take their own lives.
What started as an innocent night on the town with friends for 21-year-old Shelley Oldlam quickly turned into a life-changing nightmare lasting more than 7 years. Shelley, too, gave into peer pressure, trying meth for the first time with college friends. Unknowing of what the drug even was, her life spiraled out of control from that moment forward. Now, 31, Shelley has been sober for 3 years, but not without a fight that nearly ended her life, her husband's, and the lives of her 4 young boys.
Your addiction just grows stronger and stronger the longer you use. And we had, throughout the course of time, met some people who knew how to make it, and so then we learned how, and it seemed like an easier way than trying to, go through other people, and so we just started doing that ourselves. I was squirting it into a pan that was on a hot burner, and the lid came off. And so all that fuel just came out onto the hot burner and just ignited everywhere that there was gas. And so for me, I was wearing a t-shirt, so you can see, and then my legs were just about up to here. And I was wearing cutoffs, yeah. So pretty much anywhere that there wasn't clothes was where I got burned. And I was the only one hurt, thank God. I was faced with the option to use a couple of times, and here I was, I had these garments on and my burns and all these things. You'd think that would be enough, you know what I mean? And I really thought about it. And then I thought to myself, oh no, you can't do that, because on Tuesday you have to go visit your kids at Health and Welfare, and they're going to do a UA. And so for me, it was just the drive. My kids were my drive.
Not all families are as successful as the Oldlams. Many of the children taken from the meth-affected homes are severely malnourished and lack basic skills.
Images like these of cops in chemical suits are the images most people think of when they think of meth labs. What many don't think about are the kids who are often caught up in this very dangerous world.
My friends would be carrying out all these boxes of these noxious chemicals, dangerous chemicals, but you'll see a broken trike in the front yard, or in the house there'll be a crib, there'll be a 1-year-old boy crawling around on the floor in diapers. They're living in basically a toxic waste dump.
For Monty Stiles, it goes even further. He hopes everyone living here will work to keep kids from becoming victims in the first place.
If we would put our collective wills together and fight this problem as a community, and not just expect the schools and the police to do it, that we can lick this problem.
All of us. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. You certainly don't have to be in the public eye. All of us have an opportunity to impact other people all the time. And I think that if you can find that thing that interests anyone, and then figure out how to nurture it, even a little bit, even if it's a small nudge, that's all that it takes sometimes. That if we can get them believing in themselves, and see some successes, even if they're small incremental successes, that becomes kind of a vehicle to just start ramping up and shooting toward a goal.
Stop and think about what you wanted to be when you were a kid, because it's not. I mean, this may seem like it's fun, and it may seem like it's just something that's going to be, you're just a kid, you're just having fun, you're doing what you're supposed to do. That's what kids do, but this is not what the meth is about. It will take over.
We all have a role in sending Meridian's message that meth is not welcome. We must show our collective will to help with the healing of those hurting from the effects of this drug, and for our children. Join me and the Mayor's Anti-Drug Coalition in working together with businesses, neighborhoods, law enforcement, parents, and our faith community in supporting effective outreach, treatment, and keeping it out of our city. Look at these faces of meth. They may be someone you know. We must fight for our families, for our community.